Okay, Dragons, welcome to episode 5 of ISB's Breathing Fire podcast. Today we've got our special guest here at the table with us, representing the performing arts this time. And so let's dig in and see what we can find out. Welcome to the podcast. I'm going to ask you to each introduce yourselves first. Maybe tell us your name, grade you're in, how long you've been at ISB, and then your role in the performing arts up to now.
So my name is Kiara. I'm in grade 11. I think this is my 10th year at ISB.
Oof, double digits.
It's been a long time. And I've been in the performing arts since I came to school in grade 2. I've been in a lot of musicals, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, and even this year and last year here in high school.
Okay. Took a break in middle school?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just, because it was more plays and I just more like the music aspect of musicals, so
Cool.
I took a little break.
Okay.
I'm Seb. I'm in grade 10. I play double bass. I'm part of a few of the jazz bands and orchestras at the school. I actually remember my first day in the school. I've been here about 4 years. A music teacher came up to me and asked me to be in the orchestra. So it was a very welcoming environment.
Did they know you played?
Yeah, they knew I played before I came.
Okay. Somebody whispered in their ear and they went to recruit you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm William Norris. I'm the Director of Performing Arts here at ISB. This is my 12th year at the school. I work across all 3 campuses, across all of the co-curricular music and theater events, helping to coordinate and bring these performances to life.
And I'll say up front, you do a fantastic job, and I appreciate working with you. Mr. Norris and I work together, for those of you who don't know. We work together pretty closely to make sure that these programs run as smoothly and as possible and as good as they can be for the student experience. So if I'm hearing this correctly, we've got more of a performing arts from a musicals, acting kind of thing, and then more of a musician kind of thing. Do either of you ever like cross over and do some of the other stuff?
I'm also pretty involved in just different music ensembles, notably choir, also since 2 or 3 years in samba band. So
Cool.
Also the music aspect.
Tell me more about the samba man. What's that about? I'm being of Latin origins. It just kind of catches my attention.
Well, at samba band, it's just a group of students and we play different just rhythms with different samba instruments, notably drums and percussion. And yeah, we just have a
Mr.
fun
Norris,
time.
is this what I hear in my office?
Yep, it's what
Occasionally.
makes the papers on your desk jump up and down. Yeah.
okay.
Most probably.
I love it. It's great.
It was actually established during COVID. You know, we were told that we couldn't sing at one point, we couldn't play wind instruments. And I will never forget that final choir rehearsal we had before we were told that we wouldn't have choir anymore for the foreseeable future, and it was tremendously frustrating for everybody. And I went back to my office, and in a fit of great despair, I ordered a set of samba drums because I knew that we could still hit things and not break the rules, as long as we kept social distancing and mask wearing and everything. And so that's really how the samba group actually began. It was during COVID, out of COVID restrictions, because it was something we could still do. And that group has continued to thrive since COVID. So that was one of the good things, perhaps, that came out of that whole experience, which was otherwise really nasty for the performing arts to go through, and indeed for so many parts of school life.
Yeah, innovation comes from necessity. Yeah. So
We actually crossed paths in the new Pippin musical.
Mhm.
that was this past fall, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And you were one of the main parts, I remember, and I was
Yes.
in the orchestra, in the live orchestra.
Okay, so that's kind of where it can come together, I guess, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Going back to the samba band real quick, because you said it's new.
Newish.
Is
I
it
mean,
one of the new
Relatively.
2020.
Yeah, one of the new ensembles.
Yeah,
that
I
we
would
have
say
here?
so. Yeah.
And how many people are involved in that?
Oof.
Oh,
I'd say around 10 students, maybe 10, possibly 15. I'm not sure. It's an ensemble for students and teachers.
okay.
So yeah, I'd say around 10 students, maybe 5 teachers.
Okay. And do you find like these ensembles, like either do they maintain, do they recruit people, like?
We're trying to recruit
Yeah,
people.
okay.
We have expanded our group this year as well. At the beginning of the year, we were like, I don't know, 7 students. This year, at the end, right now, we are 10, 12. So
Okay.
it's growing.
Hey, so if you like to beat on instruments that make beautiful sounds, you know who to come see now.
That's right.
Yes.
Thursday lunchtimes.
Thursday
Exactly.
at lunch.
All
Look at that.
comers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that that's just one of many ensembles. How many do we have? I have no idea about, honestly. I know there's a lot of them, but I don't know the numbers or the different ones. Maybe you can share what you're a part of. I know you know the numbers, and then maybe what you guys are a part of and how that looks. Or So if you want to go first, Mr. Norris.
Sure, yeah. I mean, for our winter and summer concerts, typically we have about 12 different ensembles participating across the middle and the senior school.
Okay.
And then we have another 3 or 4 that are in the junior school that perform at other events. So in terms of co-curricular performing ensembles, we have about 15 at the school for students. Then the samba band usually performs at separate, but because that's not really something you want to have at a sit-down formal concert. That's more suited to things like the back-to-school barbecue, the international festival, maybe some scope for athletics, although we then have to figure out how the samba whistle for the leader and the referee's whistle would work together, but that's a conversation for another time perhaps. So yeah, that's really the number of different groups, and then typically across, for example, the middle and senior school at one of our winter or summer concerts, you'd have probably somewhere in the region of 200 students performing at one of those events, so
awesome.
it's pretty high involvement overall.
Yeah. Awesome. Favorite ensemble you've been a part of so far? Oh, tough one.
Probably Instant Orchestra. I really love it. It's an orchestra, and we meet, maybe 2 weeks before the winter or the summer concert. We have about 4 rehearsals, and then we just go and play at the concert. It's quite a unique experience.
So you just go play, like, are you given like one piece of sheet music? Is it a freestyle? Like,
it's usually
yes.
3 pieces of music.
Okay.
And then we have about 2 weeks to practice them at home, and then we all come into school and then have about 4 rehearsals before the summer concert. So it's sometimes quite rushed, but in a good way.
What is it that you like about it?
I like the community that we've made. Everyone's all really happy to be there, and it's playing together is always really fun. Yeah.
How many people are in the Instant Orchestra, roughly?
Maybe
on average
60, 70, about that, 60, 70. So
60?
yeah, fitting all that in a kind of medium-sized music room is not easy.
And 4 rehearsals to perform publicly?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. That's fantastic, actually. How about you? What's your favorite ensemble that you're a part of?
I'd probably say choir, because I just like singing in general, and I find it's my main instrument, if you would call it that.
It's an instrument.
It is. And yeah, just growing through being part of the primary school choir, then to middle school, then high school, it's a really nice progression. And also being in the choir here also has different opportunities to be part of this organization called AMI, which is just honor choirs, which is also for different orchestras. But I've been part of the AMI honor choirs. I think this year I went to my 4th AMI honor choir. This one was the first time being for high school in Muscat, Oman. We went during the Fastnacht break. It was really fun.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, just general community and choir, everyone singing together, just no stress.
Is AMI like an acronym, or is that the
Yes.
word? What does it stand for?
It stands for the Association of Music of International Schools.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it's a very prestigious
Is this a
honor.
global thing? Is this a European thing? I mean, it was
think
in
it's global.
Oman.
It's a global organization,
it's
yeah.
global.
Do you remember Chiara or Seb? Because Seb has actually been involved in the AMI Jazz Festival at the beginning of last academic year. Do either of you remember why it's called AMI? Because AMIS, you would think it might be Amos, but they're very, very specific about calling it AMI. Do you remember why?
Because of the French word,
Which
means friends in French.
so the idea is to create friends through music making, hence why it's AMI.
So in Spanish, amigo. Got it.
Exactly.
Connecting
Exactly.
dots here. This is what we do. Okay, cool. So AMI International. This is what I was going to ask you. So choir.
Yes.
Do you have any like choir mates, partners? What do we call them? First of all, for me,
Fellow singers? I don't know.
do you have any
Yes.
fellow singers that have been with you since junior school that are still with you?
Since junior school, I'm not sure. From middle school, definitely. I
Okay.
have some close friends. We, like 2 or 3 people, we've stuck together, and we've been in choir since middle school.
Okay, so that's
From
cool.
junior school, maybe one person, but I'm not sure if she was part of choir in primary school.
Okay. No, well, I mean, the nature of international schools is that there's turnover.
Yeah,
but That's
exactly.
why I wanted at 10 years. I was hoping there'd be a couple that have been there a little while with you. So that's good to hear as well. So speaking about internationally, you went to Oman, you just told me, with
Yes.
AMI. Where else have you guys been able to travel to, within with the performing arts department?
I went to Aberdeen in Scotland for the Jazz AMI Festival, but it's just crazy because it's so worldwide. So you go to Aberdeen, which is kind of on the coast of Scotland, and I was meeting people from London, from Bangkok, from anywhere. So
That's what gives you a chance to kind of expand your network, or your Instagrams or your Snapchats.
sure.
For sure.
Yeah. And so does the AMI, is there like a Swiss AMI, or is there like, because like with the sports side of things, we have our more local conferences or organizations that we're part of, and then we have more international, right? And so is there like a Swiss section of AMI, or is it just a global thing and you all come together once a year, or is it multiple times a year? How does all that work?
It's a global organization, and they're beginning to regionalize it a little bit, just from a sustainability and travel and logistical standpoint. So, for example, the festival that Chiara mentioned in Oman this year, next year they're splitting that into 2 festivals, and they'll have one located in Asia and one located in Europe. So it makes it a little bit easier for the schools in those regions to bring students to those events from a logistical standpoint. That being said, ISB is actually at the forefront of a new SGIS arts group. Miss Rodriguez, the art teacher here, and I are both on the steering committee, the executive committee for that. And one of the events that we're doing next year for the first time is an SGIS symphony orchestra, which hopefully Seb will be involved in on the double bass, and that's going to take place in early November. So we're very excited because that's the first event of its kind here in Switzerland, at least for some time, certainly since my time began here in Basel. So we're looking forward to trying to build some more links, because there are so many international schools here, and we can create really wonderful possibilities within Switzerland as well as further afield.
So more chances to perform, more chances to connect here a little closer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What's the frequency looking like roughly? Like, is it something that happens each semester with the SGIS? Is it just something that people will raise their hands, schools will raise their hands and be like, hey, we want to host something? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, I think, with something like this symphony orchestra that we're establishing, I think we're hoping it will become an annual event. You don't want to oversaturate as well. That's we've all got such busy schedules and calendars. But then there is scope for other things. So this is a high school symphony orchestra. So why don't we start maybe the following year some sort of middle school instrumental ensemble, or a theater initiative as well? So there are lots of possibilities. In visual art, we already had a traveling art exhibition this year where schools from several different international schools in SGIS, they submitted artworks which then toured the different schools and were exhibited there, which was great. It was a really fantastic initiative, and that's going to happen again next year. So it'd be great to see more of that happen in music, again, right the way down from senior through to middle school and junior school. In music and in theater.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Would that be like something that's competitive, or is just go and like share? Because I've been a part of organizations in Asia where the different ensembles went to compete amongst like the choir competition, or sheet music reading, improv competition, things like that. I don't know if that's what SGIS is looking at, or is it just more of a get out and share and be together kind of situation?
I think it's maybe more of the latter. I think what I like about the AMI festivals is that you compete against other people from around the world to get in, but once you're there, it's a sharing experience. And there might be an aspect of competition. I know for the choir festival, and perhaps maybe for the jazz festival as well, I'm not sure, there are opportunities for solos, and then you can audition for solos. So there's sometimes some inter-festival competition, but it's usually done in a very friendly and open manner. But I like that balance. We're providing something that's there for musicians who really want to push themselves, but once they're there, it's about the music making and the unity that comes from that.
Yeah. And just from my experience, I don't know if people know this, but I don't know how much I shared this. So I played piano and trumpet growing up, coming through school, and I was also part of the choir. So I do sing a little bit in the shower now, but not publicly often. So yeah, this is where my questions are kind of coming from. Again, there's the competitive parts of it. I loved the get to know you parts of it. But how does that come back to like how do you guys prepare for that, I guess, is really like, do you just prepare to play, or do you have competitions? First of all, I guess is my first question. Are there competitive events?
At ISB there are. There's a music competition which happens annually.
Okay.
It's for, I think it's classical musicians, and then I think it's the final. They have the kind of initial period where they find 6 finalists, and then they compete at the end. And usually a professional comes in to adjudicate.
Okay. Well, that's where I guess that's kind of where I was hoping this went, because I remember being a part of workshops when I was at these events, whether they were competitive or non-competitive. I don't know how if that even happens anymore, if that's still like a regular thing where you can go and meet with like a professional and get some feedback and get some tips and listen to some things. So I don't know if that's still part of what you guys experience when you go out on these trips or these events. But if you do, I'd love to hear some more about that.
Professionals, do you mean at AMI or
At AMI or any of these other competitions you might go to where they have like guest speakers that come and share their experiences with the musicians or with the actors or the singers or whatever the case is.
So I suppose like your conductors or your workshop leaders at AMI would be one thing.
Yep.
I don't think either of you have been soloists in the music competition at this stage yet. But
No.
you've been to music competitions, so you've seen the feedback that those adjudicators give. So you could talk about that. Symphony Orchestra Basel, people coming in to work with the instant orchestra, which you mentioned. So I'll just leave you with those ideas and let you run with those.
Flesh those out a little bit.
Yeah, with the instant orchestra that I was talking about earlier, there are usually two professionals from the Basel Symphony Orchestra that come in and help. So there's usually one for the kind of wind and brass section, and then one for the strings, and then they give kind of specific feedback on technique and kind of. So I think that's quite helpful to get that specific feedback from someone that well, they really know how to play. They know the industry. They know everything. So
Yeah, they're at the highest level, right?
Yeah.
So okay, cool. What about your experience with that?
Well, my experience would be more towards AMI, and the professionals would be, in this case, the conductors, who are just professional conductors who come from different schools. This year we had a conductor from a university being our conductor for our choir, very professional, and it's really a nice experience to just get this professional advice and just techniques, different like ways of thinking about different like vocal techniques, like how to do different things, which you wouldn't normally get out of different like experiences.
So looking back on those experiences and those moments, what are some things that you learned that you still use and you're like, oh, I still remember that from, that person telling me or whatever the case is?
I definitely use a lot of different vocal techniques that I've learned in different AMIs across the years, especially for breathing and just general like mouth shapes. It's going to sound weird, but just like
Makes
general
sense.
mouth shapes
Yeah.
for singing to get a different tone or just mood in general, just singing.
Okay.
I play a lot of jazz, so I'm usually playing without a bow. But
Okay.
when you play classical music, when you're playing without the bow, there's a certain technique that you're supposed to use that I'm not very good at because
Okay.
I just don't do as much classical as I do jazz. But the professional came in and he kind of taught me how to do it the kind of classical way, which really opened my mind to using different techniques. Sure.
Cool. That's great. So there's opportunities still to improve and grow. It's not just like go and
Yeah,
perform,
definitely.
right? You get
Oh,
to interact
definitely.
with higher level musicians or higher level singers or whatever the case is to kind of help you hone your own craft. And so that's good. That's good to hear. Again, fire, the eye, improvement, a big part of that. Like I'm a big fan of the improvement part. So like the fact that you guys get the chance to do that, like that's great. Mr. Norris, are you going to jump in there?
Well, often we've talked, off podcast about the similarities between our disciplines, between sports, athletics, and music. And I'm often saying this to students. Of course, there are big differences between the two as well. But I think the FIRE acronym certainly can be applied very much in what we do in the performing arts as well. There are definite crossovers there. But I was also going to say Basel is just a wonderful hub for music making, and there's so much expertise in this city for music and for theater. We've got this partnership with Symphony Orchestra Basel. We've got a partnership with Theater Basel. We've been on backstage tours there, and we've had special ticket offers for students and staff. So that's been really, really great. We also had that workshop, I just remembered, with the Reinach Choir. Do you remember with David Lawrence?
Yes.
When he came into our choir in the first semester, and just he's a very, very well-known professional choir conductor in the UK, and gave us an hour's workshop, which was absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
And
definitely.
that link came from actually a competitive aspect of AMI, which is the solo and ensemble competition. We actually submitted a video of the Reinach Choir performing, and we had feedback from 3 professional conductors, one of whom was this person, David Lawrence, who then happened to be coming to Basel, and we were able to establish that link
That's great.
in person. So
That's great.
yeah.
So how often do you guys go watch or listen to performances here in Basel?
Not as often as I would like to.
Okay. Tell me
I
more.
don't typically go to performances, even though I would really like to, mainly because of the language barrier, because I don't really speak German or understand German, and Swiss German let's not even talk about it. So that's kind of always a barrier for me to just go and watch just plays or any like musical performance. However, when I go traveling, I always try to go and just see either a musical or just a recital or something.
Okay, Seb?
I actually really value going to watch people, because I feel like I learn a lot and it kind of broadens my musical horizons. And I sometimes go to watch this symphony orchestra in Basel and other orchestras in Basel, and I also go watch concerts sometimes at the jazz campus in Basel, which is a great place to go. There are so many professionals for music in Basel. It's kind of everywhere. So.
That's great. No, yeah, Basel's definitely. I've been around the world a couple of times, I feel like, but Basel's very, very arts inclined, and I think it's great. I think it's probably great for you guys as well. It sounds like you do take advantage, maybe not as much as you'd like to or want to, but that's okay. You still take advantage of it. Looking back now, because you said you've seen a lot of productions or done a lot of things. What's your favorite production, either that you've been a part of or that you've watched?
Oh, I couldn't say. Honestly, there's just so many.
Have a think.
I don't know. Favorite production ever? I don't think I could say.
Give me 2 or 3.
I honestly don't know. There's just so many. I really like, I remember one production I've seen in London, I think last year, was it? The Lion King.
Okay.
It was beautiful. I really, really loved that one. It was just...
What was it about it?
Well, just the Disney Lion King, just the general story of Simba. Yeah, I think everyone knows the story of the Lion King.
But I've never seen the production.
I hadn't either. That was my first time, and it was really just beautiful, the way they did all the animals, the really organic just movements and everything, especially Pride Rock. I don't know how they fit that. It was just a massive thing just coming out of the ground. I don't know how they did it. It was really magical. Well,
they did their job then, because left you wondering, and clearly you would go back and see it again, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So they did their job. How about you, Seth?
Favorite concert?
Yeah.
Would you say worldwide?
You can define it.
I went to New York about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and obviously the jazz scene in New York is amazing. There are just musicians everywhere. So I went to go see my favorite double bass player called Christian McBride, and I went to one of the famous jazz clubs there to go watch him. So
that's awesome. So you got the chance to see one of your favorites live. Yeah,
it's great.
Mr. Norris, I'm going to ask you slightly different. Same question, but slightly different. In your time here, what's been one of your favorite performances that we've put on?
Ooh. That's a very interesting question, because obviously there are students watching potentially, and
we're not asking favorite students.
No. I clearly
production. Yep.
Yeah, I mean there are a number of ones that jump out. It's hard to narrow down. I mean, this past show this year that we did in the senior school, Pippin, was just really fascinating musically. It was really interesting, like conducting the orchestra. I really enjoyed the music for it. It had a very 70s kind of sound, but it was still quite classically orchestrated in some ways. And the songs were great. The story and the way that and the music were entwined was really, really interesting. And I just found it a very almost academically stimulating show to conduct. It was a very interesting piece of theater, and both Seb and Chiara were involved in the orchestra and on stage in that production. So that was a really enjoyable one. Other memorable productions, I mean, I can jump back 10 years when we did Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, that's a wonderful story, again, a wonderful show with just absolutely beautiful klezmer music as it follows the story, and I'll never forget doing that production as well. So, and those are a couple of musicals that spring to mind. But honestly, after 12 years here, when I think back to all the summer and winter concerts and music competitions, the choral extravaganza is always a really special event. There are just so many, and each one is special in its own way. I know that might sound very cliched, but after a performance, you always find things that are unique. I've done now 12 winter concerts at ISB, and each one, when I go back and I look at the program, I've kept all the programs for these over the years, and when you go back occasionally, you see these programs from a concert 9 years ago, it brings back unique memories. You see a student name and somebody maybe who you've not thought of for a while, and you think, oh yeah, that person played this piece, or whatever it might be. And that's, I think, what's so wonderful about the work we all do, students and staff in the performing arts, is that every day is different, and every day brings new challenges and new joys, and those are manifested in rehearsal and in performance.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. If you're curious about mine, favorite production is probably Wicked, that I've seen on a professional level, only because it has the different perspective. Right, and so I'd never thought about that perspective. I think that's what arts do, is make you think a little bit, right, depending on how it's portrayed. Pippin I loved in the fall. I loved the way that the show played out, with the stage kind of jutting out in that U shape, which is, for a school, not typical. It's usually on the stage and you stay on the stage kind of situation. So I was fascinated by the whole thing, and I know that's a full team effort of adults and students and everybody behind the scenes. So while we're talking about it, thank you everybody for that. I enjoyed it as just a audience member, not even just a school member. So I appreciate that. We always kind of talk about next steps, and while I'm sure you can't give me the name or the idea of what's coming up for next productions, what are some productions that you would like, without naming what is coming up, that you'd be interested in doing here at the school, that would be, of interest, that maybe we need to level up a little bit and maybe get some new equipment for, or whatever. But, it's like, man, I've always wanted to do this one, but we just, for some reason, haven't been able to. Is there anything that kind of calls you?
I think something where maybe the audience is involved would be really interesting, kind of getting people on stage, or maybe kind of getting people up singing and dancing and stuff. I think that'd be really interesting.
Pippin had a little bit of that, didn't it? There was that one audience participation number, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So some more of just pulling people out of the crowd and getting them involved?
Yeah.
Have you seen something like that, Mr. Norris, where we can...
Yeah, I mean, I saw a show in London in the West End called Once, and it was very interesting. When you walked into the theatre at the start, half an hour before to take your seat, the stage area was a bar. I mean, that was the set, but the audience could go up on stage and actually buy a drink and sit at the bar. And then as you sat there, about 15 minutes before the show started, the cast came on stage and they sat down at these different instruments and started having a jam session, as if you were in a rural pub somewhere in Ireland, which is where the show was set. And so that was a really unique experience to kind of cross that audience performer divide.
Maybe we'll work on that. Yeah. We'll see. How about you, Kara? Anything that you wish we could do or sing or?
Honestly, a musical I would really, really want to do would be Beauty and the Beast. We didn't do it just because of any logistical, not just errors. Just we couldn't do it. Possibly, it's just I don't know why we've never done it, and I just think that it's really a nice story, and just the music is beautiful, and it's one that I would really like to do.
You're back on this Disney thing, huh?
Yeah.
My daughter's the same way. She loves all these Disney things.
Always.
Yeah. My daughter's older too. She's not little. She still loves all these Disney things.
It sticks forever. Disney's great.
Yeah, why not?
It is, yeah.
So we've come to the part of the show we're going to start wrapping this up. And you guys have been fantastic. You've been awesome, giving us some insight into the program, some of the different things that we do here at ISB that we're a part of. You make me want to come out and maybe break out my trumpet again tonight, or sing.
As you should.
Sing to myself in the mirror.
Which group should he join? The staff ensemble?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We have a staff ensemble called Rest in Time. You should absolutely join.
Another ensemble, just pulling them out of the woodwork here.
Exactly.
Right. Maybe. I don't know. I got to work on the muscles in here, but yeah.
Well, it's called Rust in Time for a reason, Coach Vic. Yeah, you've just qualified yourself for it. So.
I'm in.
So
I'm gonna give everybody. What we do is at the end we give everybody a chance to shout out somebody or a teacher or a friend, parents, whatever you want. We'll direct you to that camera right there, and you can send your shout outs and your messages to whoever you'd like to send them to. So I'll just turn it over. Whoever wants to go first. There's no order here.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. Well, shout out to all my friends, my family, my wonderful teachers, and yeah, you guys are awesome, and let's go. Let's survive the IB diploma.
I'd also like to give a shout out to my friends. The IB diploma is going to be really hard.
Good luck with that one.
I hope you stick with me throughout it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd just like to shout out all of the performing arts students and staff here at ISB, not just in the senior school, but middle school and junior schools. A huge number of us involved, and I think we bring a lot of joy to one another and to our school community. So let's keep doing that.
And like Mr. Norris alluded to it, breathing fire isn't just a sports thing. It's something we can all do, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. Those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep breathing fire.